Welcome to the Explainer. So, today we are tackling a topic that literally feels like something ripped straight out of a financial thriller. We're going to examine the digital assets that, honestly, so many of us trust implicitly to keep our money safe. But what if the ground beneath those very assets is shifting? Seriously, the stakes here are incredibly high, and the systems we just kind of take for granted, they might be hiding some absolutely massive vulnerabilities. Let's get right into it.
Think about this for a second. What if the safest asset in your digital wallet is actually a ticking time bomb? Today we're using this truly explosive book, Stablecoin Endgame by R.V. Cross, as our definitive blueprint. This book masterfully exposes what it calls the Trojan horse of our modern financial system. We're going to break down its core arguments right here so you can see exactly how this whole complex digital architecture actually operates behind the scenes.
Okay, Section 1, The Lie of Stability, an Unstable World. Look, in a world plagued by inflation, traditional banking crises, and sudden economic shocks, we all have this profound psychological craving for predictability, right? Stablecoins market themselves as that exact safe haven. They promise this unshaken, immune asset that is available anywhere, instantly. But the book argues that the reality is actually quite different. Their digital stability is highly contingent. It relies almost entirely on the fragile analog plumbing of traditional banks, wire transfers, and localized legal jurisdictions. Basically, the promise of digital independence is being propped up by old-world infrastructure.
Moving on to Section 2, the one-to-one backing illusion, the comforting myth.
So the phrase one-to-one backing is a brilliant piece of marketing. It implies this really comfortable definition, the idea that every single digital token you hold is safely and instantly exchangeable for a real-world fiat dollar. And naturally, the public assumes there's just physical cash sitting safely in a vault somewhere, just waiting for you to hit that redeem button. It paints this picture of absolute, unshakable solvency. But here's the catch. The reality of those reserves? It is not just stacks of physical cash. Instead, they're made up of things like short-term government debt, commercial paper, repo agreements, and funds locked up in really opaque custodial accounts. Now sure, under normal conditions, these things are perfectly liquid. But during a market panic? Suddenly, there are zero buyers for commercial paper. Repo agreements can literally freeze up overnight as trust just evaporates between these massive institutions. That liquidity can vanish in an instant, exposing a super dangerous mismatch between theoretical paper wealth and the reality of a massive panic. Which brings us to Section 3, the web of intermediaries, the shadow empires. That whole one token, $1 narrative completely hides a dense network of opaque banks and custodians. And Cross maps out exactly how fast this whole thing can unravel. Step 1, it starts if a custodian gets nervous or faces regulatory pressure and just freezes accounts. Step 2, that uncertainty quickly causes the token's price spread to widen on secondary markets. Step 3, that spread triggers a mass redemption panic among users. And Step 4, suddenly systemic liquidity dries up ecosystem-wide. The author argues this reveals stablecoins as a fragile house of cards, heavily dependent on the exact same global financial institutions they claim to be disrupting. Let's look at Section 4, the liquidity black hole, macroeconomic threat. So stablecoins have grown so absolutely massive that they are now woven right into the bedrock of global markets. And this exposes a fatal flaw, long-dated risk paired with overnight liabilities. Think about it. Stablecoins are callable on demand. Users expect to get their money back instantly, but the U.S. Treasuries backing them, those take time to mature. If an issuer is forced to sell bonds prematurely during a mass redemption event, especially when interest rates are rising, it causes catastrophic mark-to-market losses. They literally have to sell at a loss just to pay out the users who are rushing for the exits. And that leads us directly to this really critical question. If a major stablecoin faces a bank run, and they have to dump tens of billions of dollars of U.S. Treasuries onto the open market all at once, what actually happens? Well, it wouldn't just hurt the crypto ecosystem. According to the author, it could destabilize global dollar liquidity and absolutely wreak havoc on bond yield curves. A localized crypto panic could actually trigger a massive macroeconomic contagion. Finally, Section 5, the Trojan horse endgame, the ultimate threat. Now we're moving from just financial fragility to the ultimate threat of systemic control. As Cross chillingly writes in the book, stability was never the destination, only the bait. The book argues that the private innovation of stablecoins, their speed, their ease of use, their programmable nature, has secretly been training the public to accept digital programmable dollars under the guise of private sector convenience. All of this is paving the way for something much, much more insidious.
So what exactly were we being trained for? A CBDC, or a central bank digital currency? This is the true endgame, according to the text, a state-controlled digital fiat that eventually just swallows up the entire private stablecoin infrastructure. Think about it. The private experiments took all the risks, they ironed out the buggy technology, and they built the massive user base. And now, the state can just step right in and adopt the framework.
The implications of this transition are honestly profound. Moving from private stablecoins to CBDCs turns our money into a literal weapon of total financial surveillance. Every single transaction can be recorded and traced. Physical cash and all the privacy it affords us is erased completely. Money becomes programmable. And that creates political choke points where governments could dictate exactly how, when, and where you are allowed to spend your own funds. It is essentially a system of permanent observation.
I really want to leave you with this final provocative thought today. Are we trading our financial freedom for an illusion? As we seek out stability in this increasingly chaotic world, are we inadvertently locking ourselves into a system of absolute control? Let the weight of that Trojan horse reality sink in for a minute, because it is a fascinating yet terrifying perspective on the future of our money.
If you want to truly understand the hidden forces shaping your digital wallet, you have to read this book. Discover the full exposé and secure your ultimate survival guide. Read Stablecoin Endgame by R.V. Cross today by heading over to https:/mybook2nc-03-06. Thanks so much for tuning into this explainer, and keep learning.